দর্শক আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি আমাদের আজকের অনুষ্ঠানে। আমাদের আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের অতিথি এমন এক ব্যক্তি যিনি বহু মানুষকে অনুপ্রাণিত করেছেন এবং ভবিষ্যতেও করবেন। এই ব্যক্তির নাম ভ্যালেরি অ্যান টেলর। বাংলাদেশে 1969 সালে প্রথম গিয়েছিলেন। সে সময় বাংলাদেশ হয়নি, সেটি ছিল পূর্ব পাকিস্তান। এবং তারপরে এই ভ্যালেরি অ্যান টেলর, যিনি পেশায় একজন ফিজিওথেরাপিস্ট, তিনি বাংলাদেশে আবার ফেরত যান যুদ্ধের মাঝামাঝি এক সময়, এবং পরবর্তীকালে তিনি বাংলাদেশে 1979 সালে CRP নামে একটি প্রতিষ্ঠা করেন, একটি প্রতিষ্ঠান যেখানে পক্ষাঘাতগ্রস্তদের চিকিৎসা দেওয়া হয়। CRP, Center for the Rehabilitation of the Paralyzed। এবং এই প্রতিষ্ঠানের প্রতিষ্ঠাতা ভ্যালেরি অ্যান টেলর আজকে আমাদের সাথে স্টুডিওতে উপস্থিত আছেন। তার সাথে কথা বলছি। Welcome to our show, Valerie.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. We know that you were born in the United Kingdom.
That's right.
In Kent.
Yes.
And that was in the mid-40s. And then your childhood was a mixture of growing up in Argentina and then back to Kent.
That's right.
And then you later on you got your degree in physiotherapy.
Yes. Could I just mention, it was before the days of a degree. You couldn't do a degree. Right? I went to a school of physiotherapy under St Thomas's Hospital in London, and that's where I did the 3-year training to become a physiotherapist. Yes.
This is very interesting because then you settled in Bangladesh. You have been living in Bangladesh for more than 4 decades now, almost 5 decades. And you have been working for people with paralysis and other kind of spinal injuries, neurological injuries, and so many other things. But when you were growing up as a child, you didn't plan it, did you?
No, certainly. I think because we lived in the Argentine, the fact of working overseas would have always been of interest to me, but no, certainly no plans such as this. I would have always loved to have been a doctor. I wasn't clever enough to pass my physics A-level, and so I then went into looking at whether I could study as a physiotherapist.
Where in Argentina were you?
Yes, we were in the foothills of the Andes in a place called Los Cocos, near Cordoba.
And your parents were there with you?
Yes, yes, certainly.
What were your parents? Can you tell us?
My father was a medical missionary.
I see. So that is where you got your inspiration
yes,
from?
Yes, I'm sure that's true.
And
yes,
your mother?
Yes, she was a housewife. I mean, I had an older sister, and a younger sister was born in the Argentine, yes. So she was busy looking after us.
So you went to school and then you went to college and university. Which university did you go to?
It wasn't a university, it was St Thomas's Hospital. At that time, there was no university course. It's much later on that it became a degree
I see.
course.
We are talking about the 50s. I mean, when you were...
62 I left school.
Yeah.
And so 64 to 67 I was training as a physiotherapist. Yes.
I see, okay. And then you visited East Pakistan, then East Pakistan,
yeah,
which became Bangladesh in 1971.
Yes.
Why did you visit Bangladesh?
Well, I'd read some books about medical work in South India, and you can imagine, I think, when you get towards the end of your training, your lecturers start to say to you, well, where are you thinking of working? And I said, you know, I'm very interested in the Indian subcontinent, and I wanted to go as a volunteer. So I approached voluntary service overseas, and they said, no way can you come without some basic experience. Go away and get 2 years of basic physiotherapy experience and then come back to us, which is what I did. As soon as my 2 years of working in a hospital and a rehabilitation centre not very far from Slough in Buckinghamshire, I went back to voluntary service overseas and said, would they agree to send me? And what seems a bit peculiar now, because there was a choice of 15 months or 2 years. And I remember thinking, well, if I don't like East Pakistan, I don't think I'd be very wise to sign on for 2 years. I'll play safe and ask if I could go for 15 months. But of course, as I think, arrived in East Pakistan and got off the plane, I fell in love with that beautiful country. And so now, 47 years later, as some people say, it's rather a long 15 months. I find I'm still there.
It feels so good to hear that you fell in love with the people of Bangladesh and the land as well. You have become a citizen of Bangladesh, and thank you so much for that. But you know, I'm still intrigued. What really inspired you to take this kind of, you know, vocation?
Yes, I think it was very much meeting 4 spinally injured people in the hospital where I was working under VSO. This was a small mission hospital in the Chittagong Hill Tracts.
Mm-hmm.
And when I thought about it, I thought, what can I do to help these people who, in this case, 4 of them had broken their backs. There were no wheelchairs, no occupational therapy, no vocational training. And I had grown up living in a village not very far from the National Spinal Injuries Centre in the UK, a place called Stoke Mandeville. And I'd volunteered there once in a school holiday. And I saw people being discharged home, learning to drive hand-controlled vehicles, living a very full, active life, coming into Stoke Mandeville to play a whole variety of sports in their wheelchairs. And I saw the terrific gulf of difference between those who had every opportunity after their spinal injury in the UK and people who would struggle to survive in Bangladesh. And it was that made me think, this is the group of people I would love to work with. So once my 3 years were complete with VSO, in the meantime we had been evacuated back to the UK and I had returned to Bangladesh. But when my 3 years were complete, my whole object was to try and raise funds to start a small independent rehabilitation centre for spinal injuries, and with emphasis on people who were poor.